Travis Wingedzel. In the Book of Mormon, in Alma chapter 1, there's the story of Nehor. He murders a Gadianton. No, not Gadianton. It's the guy from the Book of Judges. But yes, Nehor, the Order of Nehors, became the secret order, the secret combination of Gadianton and his band. That was funny. Gideon. That's right, Gideon. And he murders Gideon, who was debating Nehor for his lies and deceptions, which were going to harm the Nephites. And so Nehor took it upon himself to murder Gideon, to enforce his priestcraft with the sword. And we also know about Cain slaying Abel, murder to get gain. Master Mahan. Well, there's Desnat, the latter-day Danite descendants, the Neo-Danite domestic terrorist group of Mormons, which the website originally was called Teancum's Javelin. And if you don't know the story of Teancum, he was a military man under Captain Moroni, who was able to sneak into the camp of the Lamanites and kill the leader with his javelin. And for the most part, until he finally got caught, was able to escape and return back to the Nephites. That was his whole thing, was he was a stealth assassin. And so here you have the Mormons, the Neo-Danites, thinking that they're going to enforce Mormonism upon other Mormons with the javelin, just as Teancum slew the enemy. And when they were confronted about being a domestic terrorist group, he of course backtracked and cowered. No, we're not. No, please don't designate us as a hate group. We just want to take away people's agency so that they follow the living prophet. Oh, okay. Out of the frying pan into the fire of Lucifer's plan of happiness. Yeah, they're just dumbasses. And they're enforcing their dumbassery with the javelin, with threats of violence and hate. And so, yeah, it's not a surprise that the Twitter feed or whatever, when it became a big stir in Utah news, had people posting weapons to enforce their little gang. And so with conference ending, Nelson declaring himself as the anti-Semite that he is, as the prophets all stood in line to say, I'm an anti-Semite too. You have Mormons who have attacked me through the comments and through thumbs down, who declare themselves anti-Semites, haters, those who abuse to enforce Mormonism upon other people. And Mormons don't get it. You don't see that being abusive, taking away the rights of life, liberty, and property of other people is wrong. You cannot do it. You are not the judges. You have no authority to judge. Danites. Dan, from the Hebrew, judge. Which is interesting because they're using the Hebrew translation of Dan for their name, and yet Nelson let God prevail because he refuses to see the real Jewish meaning of Israel and throws in prevail which meaning and word is not even in Israel. And so, thus the white supremacist hatred, anti-Semitic, national or religious nationalism. I think you probably heard that, so I'll just do an edit at 5:25. And so, why? Well, we see why in the fruits of Mormons, of what the prophets are planning, and how Mormons are interpreting it. Desnat stands for Deseret Nation. It's an anti-government declaration. Mormons want their kingdom back, the kingdom of Deseret. It was not a state. Don't be fooled. When the Brigham Young had arrived in July 24th, 1847, with all of his sex-trafficked women, he was in Mexico territory. It was not the United States territory. That didn't happen until 1848. And so for about 1 year, after murdering the indigenous people, or the natives of the land, he had his kingdom of Deseret. And thus the battle between Brigham Young and the government. That's why the church is anti-government. It was because they thought that the United States wrongfully took over their land, when the church didn't even recognize Brigham Young in the first place. It was Mexico territory. It was not the kingdom of Deseret. And so with the transfer of possession with Mexico, it became the United States territory. But the church doesn't want you to know this. They want to say that the United States took away their religious freedom. Folks. But yeah, this is Brigham Young's church. It's not Joseph's church. Joseph had nothing to do with any of this and any of the teachings. It's not anywhere in the scriptures, as I just read to you about Nehor. And so the branch-offs from Brigham Young that Mormons refuse to say that are part of their church, you know, the FLDS Church of Warren Jeffs and the others, the Kingston Clan and all the others in Mexico and Arizona and Colorado and Utah, they still embrace Brigham Young's teachings. That of blood atonement, you know, that's the death penalty in the temple. The Adam God theory, Jesus Christ over the Jewish Messiah, and the name being Jesus Christ rather than Church of Christ, and then the Church of Latter-day Saints. And Nelson, of course, not comprehending or purposely taking advantage of Mormons' stupidity. The word shall means a future time period. When Joseph Smith gave section 115, it was the Church of Latter-day Saints. That was the name of the church. So he then, in there, first says the name of the church for the millennium. Then he says, in the latter days, though, this will be the name of the great and abominable church that will usurp my church, change the name, change the God, just as Brigham Young changed the Heavenly Father to Adam. And Mormons aren't comprehending this. Brigham Young changed who Heavenly Father is. Therefore, it's not the same church. And Mormons think that they can just go back to calling it Jesus, which it never was in the first place, with Heavenly Father as a other space alien exalted being, not Adam, and still think everything's fine, that there's still succession through Brigham Young. No. Brigham Young started his own church. He's not a succession of Joseph Smith. and yet they perpetuate the lie upon us, and we all fall for it. We all get deceived, and we all go on our missions, and we're anti-Semites to the world, and we don't comprehend when people hate us. So, there you have it. You can't enforce Mormonism with the sword, especially when you're wrong. It just compounds it, makes it worse. But just like the FLDS Church, they still believe Warren Jeffs is their true living prophet, and that Heavenly Father is Adam. They haven't changed. They're still committing crimes that are still getting busted by the federal government for. And that's the same condition as Mormons. You know, if the federal government were to come in, shut down the church, Mormons would still be in denial. They would say you're taking away our religious freedom, and step up with the sword to defend their religion, when the government's only arresting them for their crimes. Because that's the whole lesson in Alma, is that you punish people for their crimes, not their beliefs, their crimes. You're welcome to believe whatever you want, you just can't manifest it into a crime. Mormons just refuse to learn from the Book of Mormon. They've already replaced it as Jewish literature, turning it into Christian literature, another testament of Jesus. So, yeah, it's not a wonder that Mormons purposely alter and change the stories in the Book of Mormon to suit their own belief systems. You know, it's like Moroni chapter 10, verses 3 through 5. We had two manifested examples of manifest being used by Nelson and Irene as a physical manifestation, not a spiritual witness. And it just went zip over the heads of Mormons.